You walk into a room, stop dead in your tracks, and realize you have absolutely no idea why you're there. You stand in the doorway, scanning the furniture, hoping a visual cue will spark the memory, but there is nothing. It is just blank space where your intention used to be. You're holding your car keys, staring at a vast parking lot, but for 10 terrifying seconds, your mind is completely blank. You don't just forget where the car is. For a split second, you forget what the car looks like. The panic starts in your chest, tight and sudden. Or worse, you're telling a story to your grandchild. You are in the middle of a sentence, describing a cherished memory, and a simple name, a name you've known for 30 years, perhaps a best friend or a favorite place, just vanishes into thin air. You stammer. You try to laugh it off, but inside you are crumbling. If you are over 60, these aren't just senior moments anymore. They feel like terrifying cracks in the foundation of who you are. A cold shiver goes down your spine as the silent question haunts you. You ask yourself in the mirror, is this just normal aging? Or is this the beginning of the end? Is this the first step toward losing my independence, my history, and my dignity? It is the single greatest fear of the modern era. For decades, we've been told the lie that cognitive decline is inevitable. We have been taught that the brain is a static organ, and that once your brain cells die, they are gone forever. We accepted that forgetting is just the price we pay for living a long life. But modern neuroscience has just shattered that myth. We now know that the brain is capable of incredible regeneration, even in your 70s and 80s. But it needs the right fuel. What if I told you the secret to scrubbing away the brain rust, destroying your memories, isn't found in a complicated prescription pill with a list of side effects a mile long? What if the answer is hiding in the produce aisle of your local grocery store? Hello, I am Dr. Kenji Sato, and welcome to the Senior Wellness Center. I specialize in longevity and cognitive preservation. In my years of practice, I have seen the look of absolute helplessness in my patients' eyes when they realize their memory is slipping. They come to me expecting bad news. They expect me to tell them to just write things down and accept their fate. But that is not what we do here. We fight back against the aging process with science. Today, I am going to share with you what I call the Memory Restoration Protocol. This is not just general advice about eating your vegetables. This is a targeted biological intervention using a specific superfood combination that most doctors completely overlook. We are going to bypass the pharmaceutical industry and go straight to the biochemistry of your brain. By the end of this video, you will have a specific, actionable plan to start reclaiming your memory as early as tomorrow morning. To understand the solution, we must first respect the complexity of the machine we are dealing with. Imagine your brain not as a static hard drive, but as a high-performance biological engine. It is the Ferrari of the human body. Even though it weighs only about 3 pounds, this engine is voracious. It consumes 20% of your body's total energy and oxygen. It is running hot 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over 60 years. But here is the catch that no one talks about. Just like a car engine, when your brain burns fuel to create thoughts and memories, it produces exhaust. In medical terms, we call this exhaust-free radicals. Every time you recall a face, solve a crossword puzzle, or even dream at night, your neurons are firing, and that metabolic process leaves behind toxic byproducts. This is known as oxidative stress. When you were 20 years old, your body's internal maintenance crew was fast. It swept away these free radicals instantly, keeping the engine clean and pristine. The exhaust was cleared as quickly as it was produced. But as we cross the threshold of 50 and 60, that maintenance crew slows down. The efficiency drops. The exhaust begins to linger. And when those free radicals aren't cleared, they start to settle on your delicate brain cells. Think of an old car that has been sitting in the rain. What happens? It rusts. In your brain, this biological rust is called chronic neuroinflammation. It is a slow, silent corrosion that coats your neural pathways. This inflammation is thick, and it is sticky. It begins to clog the tiny gaps between your neurons, the synapses, where information jumps from one cell to another. This is where the magic of memory happens, in that tiny leap. When inflammation builds up, that gap becomes foggy. The signal tries to jump, but it can't make it across the interference. The electrical impulse dampens and fades away before it reaches the other side. This is exactly what is happening when you have that tip of the tongue moment. You know the name of the movie. You know the face of the actor. The data is right there. Please understand this, because it changes everything. You have not lost the memory. You have the memory file stored perfectly, but the road to access it is blocked by rubble. The bridge is out. The terrifying feeling of emptiness you feel isn't an empty library. It is a locked door. The books are still on the shelves, gathering dust, waiting for you to open the lock. This distinction is vital. If the memory was truly gone, erased by cell death, there would be no hope. But if the memory is simply inaccessible due to biological rust, then we have a new mission. We don't need to rebuild the library from scratch. We simply need to clear the rubble. We need a way to dissolve the rust and lower the inflammation so the signals can flow freely again. But here is the problem. You cannot scrub your brain with a toothbrush. You cannot simply wash it with water. The brain is protected by a fortress wall that keeps almost everything out, including most medicines. So, how do we get a cleaning crew inside the fortress? How do we dissolve the rust without damaging the engine? The answer requires a very specific molecule, a key that fits a very specific lock. When most people feel that brain fog setting in, or when they feel their mental processing speed slowing down, they instinctively reach for a quick fix. They try to force the engine to run faster. They pour in caffeine. They load up on sugary snacks for a glucose spike. They drink energy drinks. And yes, for 20 minutes, you might feel a surge of alertness. You might feel sharper. But biologically speaking, this is a disaster. You are taking an engine that is already overheating and clogged with rust, and you are pouring high-octane gasoline directly onto the fire. You are forcing those inflamed neurons to fire rapidly. This creates even more oxidative stress. It creates even more exhaust. Once the caffeine wears off, the crash is severe, and the inflammation is worse than before. You are borrowing energy from tomorrow to pay for today with high interest. Others turn to the supplement aisle. They buy generic multivitamins, standard vitamin C, or cheap antioxidant blends, hoping that if they swallow enough pills, something will reach their brain. Unfortunately, the human body is not that simple. Evolution has designed your brain to be the most protected sanctuary in your entire body. It is guarded by something called the blood-brain barrier. Imagine the blood-brain barrier as the toughest, most uncompromising bouncer at the world's most exclusive nightclub. Its job is to keep toxins, bacteria, and viruses out of your command center. It is ruthless. When you eat a standard antioxidant, like the vitamin C found in an orange, it enters your blood. It travels to your muscles, your skin, your liver. But when it gets to the brain, the bouncer stops it. Sorry, you're not on the list. This is why so many brain supplements are a complete waste of money. They might be healthy for your body, but they are biologically incapable of crossing that threshold. They never even touch the neurons they are supposed to save. So we are left with a dilemma. We have a rusted engine inside a fortress. We have inflammation destroying your memories, but the walls are too high for standard nutrients to climb over. We don't need just any antioxidant. We need a master infiltrator. We need a molecule that is small enough, lipid-soluble enough, and structurally specific enough to trick the bouncer. We need a nutrient that holds the VIP pass, a compound that can walk right through the blood-brain barrier, enter the cerebral cortex, and head straight for the hippocampus, the specific seat of your memory and learning. Does such a molecule exist in nature? Yes, it does. And it isn't hidden in a rare Amazonian root or a laboratory test tube. It is hiding in plain sight, disguised by a deep, dark pigment. This pigment isn't just for show. It is the vehicle. It is the Trojan horse that carries the medicine past the gates. And once it gets inside, it doesn't just clean the rust, it begins to repair the machinery itself. So, what is this master infiltrator? What is the one food that carries the VIP past to your brain? It is the blueberry. But wait before you scroll away thinking, I've heard this before. You need to listen very closely because most people are eating the wrong kind. Walk into any supermarket and you will see big, plump, juicy blueberries. These are cultivated blueberries. They are bred for size, for water content, and for shelf life. They are delicious, yes, but medicinally, they are weak. The real power lies in their smaller, tougher cousin, the wild blueberry. These are the berries that grow naturally in harsh northern climates. They have to survive freezing winds and scorching sun. To survive that stress, the wild blueberry produces a massive amount of defense compounds. It develops a thick, dark blue skin. That skin is packed with anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are the pigment that gives the berry its color. But more importantly, they are the VIP pass we have been looking for. They are one of the few dietary antioxidants capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier in significant quantities. Once inside, these anthocyanins act like a targeted pressure washer for your brain tissue. They specifically seek out inflammatory markers in the hippocampus and neutralize them. They strip away the rust. As science backs this up with undeniable force. A landmark study from Harvard, the Nurses' Health Study, followed over 16,000 women aged 70 and older. They tracked their diets for decades. The results were stunning. The women who consumed the highest amounts of these berries delayed their cognitive aging by up to 2.5 years. Think about that. 2.5 years of extra time. That is 2.5 years of remembering your granddaughter's birthday. 2.5 years of finishing your own sentences. Just by changing your breakfast. Another study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry showed that older adults with early memory changes who drank wild blueberry juice daily for 12 weeks showed significant improvement in paired associate learning and word list recall. But here is the practical challenge I hear from my patients all the time. Dr. Sato, I can't find wild blueberries. And it's true. They are seasonal, they are expensive, and many local stores simply don't stock them. If you buy the big, cultivated ones, you would need to eat almost twice as many to get the same level of anthocyanins. And you'd be consuming a lot more sugar. Consistency is the key here, and if you can't find them, you won't eat them. I know finding fresh wild blueberries can be tough depending on where you live. It is a common hurdle, but do not let logistics stop you from protecting your brain. If you can't find them at your grocer, I personally recommend using organic wild blueberry powder. It is made by freeze-drying the whole berry, including that potent skin, which preserves nearly all the nutrients. It's highly concentrated, shelf-stable, and honestly, much easier to use every single day. I've put a link to a high-quality brand. I trust one that is tested for purity in the first pinned comment below, so you can check it out. Now, let's talk about dosage. This isn't a once-in-a-while treat. This is a prescription. To see the results found in these studies, you need a daily therapeutic dose. We are aiming for 1 full cup of fresh frozen wild blueberries, or about 2 tablespoons of the concentrated powder every single day. Treat it like medicine. You wouldn't skip your heart medication. Don't skip your brain food. By doing this, you are ensuring a steady stream of anthocyanins is constantly patrolling your brain, keeping the inflammation down and the pathways open. But cleaning the rust is only half the battle. Once the road is clear, you need to repave it. You need to rebuild the structure of the neurons themselves. And for that, blueberries alone are not enough. You need to add the builder. This brings us to a concept I call nutrient stacking. In pharmacology, we often combine 2 drugs because they work better together than alone. We call it synergy. Food works the same way. If you eat blueberries on an empty stomach, you get the antioxidant benefit, absolutely. But your brain is hungry for something else, something structural. You see, unlike your muscles, which are made of protein, or your bones, which are made of calcium, your brain is primarily made of fat. It is nearly 60% fat by weight. Your neurons are wrapped in a fatty sheath called myelin. This sheath is like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire. It ensures the signal travels fast and doesn't short circuit. As we age, this insulation wears down. To repair it, to physically rebuild the brain matter, you need to consume high-quality building blocks. You need the right kind of fat. Nature has given us a clue, a signature, if you will. There is one nut that looks exactly like a miniature human brain. It has two hemispheres and a wrinkled, folded surface. I am talking, of course, about the walnut. Walnuts are the undisputed king of nuts for cognitive health. They are significantly higher in alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, than any other nut. ALA is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that is a precursor to DHA. DHA is critical. It keeps the membrane of your brain cells fluid and flexible. A stiff cell membrane can't transmit signals. A flexible one, rich in DHA, allows information to flow like water. So, here is the magic of the combination. The anthocyanins from the blueberries clear the inflammation. They remove the rust. The omega-3 south from the walnuts repair the myelin sheath. They repave the road. When you eat them together, you create the perfect biological environment for neurogenesis. Yes, that is a real medical term. It means the growth of new brain cells. For a long time, we didn't think this was possible in older adults. Now we know it is. But you need the raw materials. You can't build a house without bricks, and you can't build a brain without healthy fats. However, a word of caution. Go to the snack aisle, and you will find walnuts covered in sugar, roasted in cheap inflammatory vegetable oils, or drowned in salt. These are not brain food. They are junk food. To get the medicinal benefit, the walnuts must be raw. Heat destroys the delicate omega-3 oils, turning them rancid before you even eat them. Make sure you're getting raw, unsalted walnuts to avoid unnecessary sodium and oxidized fats. I know they can be pricey in small bags. Buying them in bulk is usually cheaper and ensures you have your daily supply ready so you never run out. I've listed a great organic bulk option down in the comments for you. It's the one I use in my own kitchen. So we have the cleaner, the blueberries, and the builder, the walnuts. Now we need to assemble them into a daily ritual that is easy, delicious, and scientifically optimized for absorption. Let's put this all together into a simple, actionable plan for tomorrow morning. I call this the Purple Protocol. It's not just a breakfast. It is a neuroprotective ritual. Start with a bowl. Add your 1 cup of wild blueberries, either thawed from frozen or your 2 tablespoons of powder mixed into a little yogurt or oatmeal. The base doesn't matter as much as the berry itself. Next, take a handful of those raw walnuts, about a 1/4 cup, and crush them over the top. The crunch adds texture, but remember, you are adding the mortar to the bricks. Now for the final touch, a secret weapon to stabilize your energy. We are going to add a sprinkle of cinnamon. Why cinnamon? High blood sugar is a major risk factor for memory loss. In fact, Alzheimer's is now often called type 3 diabetes. We need to keep your insulin levels calm. Cinnamon helps regulate your blood sugar response to the meal. But please, just a quick tip, try to use Ceylon cinnamon, also known as true cinnamon. The standard cassia cinnamon you find in most stores contains coumarin, which can be harmful to your liver in high doses. Ceylon is milder, sweeter, and much safer. It is much better for daily consumption than the common store-bought kind. I've linked the exact type you should look for below in the resources list. Mix it all together. Eat this as your first meal of the day. By doing this, you are effectively scrubbing your brain of the rust that causes those senior moments. You are lowering the inflammation. You are rebuilding the infrastructure. Think back to that fear we spoke about at the beginning. The fear of the blank mind. The fear of losing yourself. It is a heavy burden to carry. But when you take action, when you realize that your fork is the most powerful tool you have to change your destiny, the fear begins to fade. It is replaced by confidence. Getting older is a privilege denied to many. Losing your memory doesn't have to be the price you pay for it. You have the power to keep your mind sharp, vibrant, and clear. Start with your diet. Start with this one small change. I have compiled a complete list of these brain foods, the powder, the raw nuts, the true cinnamon in the first pinned comment below. Please check it out to make sure you're getting the right quality. However, adding the right foods is only half the story. You also need to know when to stop eating. There are brain blockers in your pantry right now that are undoing all your hard work. In my next video, I am going to expose the 3 healthy foods that are actually destroying your memory. You do not want to miss that. Click the subscribe button so you get notified the moment it goes live. Take care of your brain, and it will take care of you. I am Dr. Kenji Sato, and I will see you in the next video.